Oh wow, this is just funny. You're still wearing the ring? Ha! You still have lingering affection towards him? It was probably the best sarcasm Evelyn could say to me right now. Oh yeah, this ring is the wedding ring I have with my current husband right now. Huh? We were classmates in college, and my current husband is a lawyer. Evelyn's face contorts. Hey, Evelyn, did you know this? That men love smart women. And for men, young women like you are there just so that they could play with fire. My name is Sandra. I have been married to my husband, Devon, and it has been half a year since we got married. He was a colleague of mine at work, and we also got into the company at the same time. Each of us have been working hard and contributing to the company on our own. And we got married. But since we were in different departments, we were not specifically ordered to be transferred, and we left home together and commuted to work every day together. My husband is, to put it nicely, a very serious person. But if I say it negatively, he could be very delusional. I got married to him with the understanding of Devon's strength and weaknesses. Although he could be like that, if you talk to him and explain to him about it, he tends to be understanding. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. I naively thought that since he would listen to me, there would be no problem if I married him. But after getting married, I realized that there was a part of him that I overlooked. When I came home from work, my husband would always ask me what happened at work.
How was work today?
Here we go again, is what I think to myself. Oh, it's normal. Nothing unusual. Same old, you know. It has become routine for me to answer it that way.
Normal? Every day is never exactly the same, is it? Just like the seasons change from day to day, right? Even today, something different must have happened compared to yesterday.
If I'm being honest, this conversation itself is really annoying and difficult for me to get through. It's easy to talk about things in the department. My husband is right. Many things happen every day. But I can see that if I talk about it, it will be even more bothersome. It's going to be a long chat, and it's not like we can find a good solution or anything like that. I come home tired from work, but he says,
"This happened to me today."
He can talk for hours on end about trivial things that I could have ended the conversation with, "I see. That's life, I guess." I can't seem to just enjoy the conversation with my husband.
Today, a new request for approval was made in the planning department.
And like this, he gets information really quickly. If he knew from the beginning, what's the point of asking me about it? Oh, that. Yeah.
It was you who requested that approval, wasn't it?
Yes, so you knew it, didn't you?
Of course! I will always have information about what's going on in the company. Especially if it's related to you, Sandra.
Oh, is that so?
So, about that proposal.
Here it is. This is what I don't like.
Maybe you should have asked me for some advice.
You know, I told you before that I can't consult about it with you, right?
Yes, but it's one of the company's most important projects, right? Shouldn't we take in the opinions of as many people as possible?
I think my husband is right. However, I am not going to listen to my husband's opinion, because my husband is supposed to include his opinion in the proposal beforehand. It's not just a matter of frequency. It's a matter of how he thinks that what I say is right is the problem here. Each time this happens, I admonish him. If I explain it to him, he finally understands, but honestly, this is getting really difficult for me. Just a few years ago, he never used to tell me how to do my job. Since we got married, my husband was always trying to do his best to proceed forward. I thought he was a very dependable person, but he's not good at the house chores at all. My husband had lived at home before we were married, and all of the housework was new to him. He tried to be properly proactive and do the housework, but this made me do the house chores even more. He could not cook, but one day he put a lot of energy into cooking dinner for me. I am very grateful that he made it. I could taste that he put all his effort in making it. Thank you for cooking dinner for me today.
Yeah, but it doesn't taste that good, right?
I wondered for a moment what I should say to that. Oh no, don't say that. There is a gray stew in front of me. Burnt bits are floating and it is very thick. What did you put in for the ingredients?
Huh? Oh, you don't know?
Of course I would know. Because there's a gray slime in front of me and I cannot see the shape of the ingredients at all. It just looks like a liquid food that you eat when you're on diet.
It's mushroom stew. I put beans and mushrooms. So, I guess it's more like beans and mushroom stew. It's my original recipe.
I see. The gray stew was very crunchy too for some reason. Did you cut off the stems for the mushrooms?
What's that?
They are not inedible, but I usually cut off the stems from the mushrooms. And now my husband is in a bad mood by this comment. My husband is the type who would always try to show off how he would do this and that. But when he was in the position where people would give advice to him, it seems like he can't take that very well.
I made dinner, Sandra, so please clean up afterwards.
My husband said that and went into his room. Normally, I would have felt bad at my husband being in a bad mood, but I was relieved at that moment. All I could think of was that I would not have to finish this bad stew. I took my plate to the kitchen and was really surprised. There was a huge amount of gray stew in the pot. The sink was a mess. My husband, who was cooking for the first time, couldn't seem to cook a meal while cleaning up. I sighed deeply and finished cleaning up the kitchen. I put the stew in the fridge, but Devon never touched it after that. It must have not tasted that great, huh? After that, my husband managed to cook, but his skill did not improve at all, as he does not like other people's advice. And as usual, the kitchen was dirty. I got fed up with this and began to actively cook meals. Then my husband said he would be in charge of doing the laundry. He's trying to find his own role in the house chores. I really appreciated his thoughtfulness, and I was grateful for how he behaved towards house chores. But even with the laundry, he would screw it up.
Whoa!
What's wrong? He shouted loudly as he took the clothes out of the washing machine to hang them up to dry.
What the heck is this?
Oh yeah, you left a tissue in your pocket, didn't you?
Oh, well, I could just clean and pick them up later, right?
He never apologizes. I'll start it over.
You don't have to. I'm fine with it.
But I don't like it.
Oh, well, then just redo yours. I'll just hang them out to dry.
There will be dry tissues all over the balcony if he does that. Who does he think is going to clean the balcony then? Sure enough, dried tissues were everywhere around the balcony. But my husband didn't seem to pay any attention to that. He did not even try to listen to my advice this time too. After that, he continued to do house chores a lot, but still forgot to take the tissues out of his pockets. When he moves around, my workload increases. I can't seem to help him since he won't even try to listen to my advice. Like this, I became stressed out, and before I knew it, I started doing all the house chores. But my husband seemed to think that I wasn't relying on him much. I think he wants me to depend on him. But I don't know how I can depend on him. As these days continued, our conversations decreased. And after 6 months of marriage, I felt that we were in a bad situation. I just get tired of him whenever he opens his mouth. I was at a loss on what to do. Then one of my colleagues told me something about Devon. I was not shocked when I heard the story, but rather I felt somewhat liberated. And soon after, my husband told me about it.
I need to talk to you.
What is it?
I want us to break up.
Does that mean you want a divorce?
Yes, that's right.
Can you please tell me the reason, just in case?
I want to remarry Evelyn.
Oh, so the rumors are true. Yes, I had heard from my colleague that there was a rumor that Evelyn, my immediate subordinate, and my husband were having an affair. Fine, let's get a divorce.
Are you sure about that?
Fine or not, as long as there's no love here, there's no need for us to be together, right?
I knew it. You don't even think about stopping me here, huh? This was my last bet.
Huh?
I was going to stay if you were going to cry and stop me. But you don't care about me anymore, huh?
Can you please not say anything so stupid? Your last bet? This isn't kids' romance. We're married, for God's sake. Be realistic.
You're always realistic like that. You changed so much after you got married.
Look, let's just cut the crap and just give me the divorce papers.
Divorce papers, huh? Well, I don't have it.
Huh?
Oh, I didn't think we'd come to a decision so quickly.
Well, you're right. It was all decided very quickly. Well then, get the divorce papers tomorrow.
Are you really sure about this?
Yeah, it's fine. I'll make sure to request for alimony. There's no shared property, so we don't have to request each other about it.
Why?
Huh?
Why are you so calm about everything that's happening? So you really didn't love me after all, huh?
I did love you. I loved you before we got married. But after we got married, I saw parts of you I hadn't seen before, and I got fed up with you, that's for sure. You said I've changed? But you've changed too. Well, I guess our personalities don't really match well with each other. And it's nothing we can do about it. But you're the one who cheated during the marriage, so you'll need to take responsibility for that.
I understand.
Later, Devin got the divorce papers, but he summoned Evelyn to the house, which I really did not expect. Oh, sorry about everything that's happened, Sandra. The fact that you came to my house, does that mean you were able to prepare the alimony? Yes! I brought the $20,000. Saying that, Evelyn put an envelope on the table. Inside the envelope, there was the $20,000. Alright, good. I was able to confirm the amount. And did you transfer the $30,000?
Yeah, of course.
When I checked it on my phone, I found that the money was also transferred to my account properly. Well then, now that that's done, I have nothing more to say. So can you please leave? You're the one who's leaving though, right? Because this house is owned under Devin's name, isn't it? Excuse me? When I look at my husband, he is looking down without making any eye contact. Ah, I get it. There seems to be some kind of misunderstanding. Well, I'm going back to my parents' house for the time being, and the two of you need to have a proper discussion. As I was about to leave the house, Evelyn stopped me. Sandra, men, you know, like girls who are young and are amazed at anything they do. It looks like you didn't have enough of that cuteness in you. Oh, is that so? Thank you for your advice. Are you frustrated? Pardon me? Devin is pretty handsome too. You're right. Evelyn, thank you so much for giving me back my freedom. Please be happy, okay? Evelyn gave me a wry look as I smiled broadly, but I didn't care and headed for my parents' house. Of course, I did not forget to file divorce papers on the way to my parents' house. After the divorce, I commuted from my parents' house to work, but after Evelyn came into my house, I could not find her anywhere at work. 3 days later, I was informed that she had resigned. It seems like she had gone back to the countryside. I thought to myself, I don't understand what this means, but it's none of my business. I went back to my parents' house and was having dinner when my ex-husband came to visit my parents' house. Oh, what do you want? Are you ready to move out of that house?
Let's start over.
What?
Evelyn was only with me for money after all.
Oh, well, yeah, most likely.
You knew that?
Of course. She worked under me and she's been talking about going to blind dates and looking for rich guys. You were probably mistaken for a homeowner and the son of a wealthy family, right?
How do you know?
You lied about the house being in your name, didn't you? You're so stupid. Since you like to show off, that's why you get deceived by girls like her. That house was given to me by my father, and it is definitely not my ex-husband's house.
Hey, let's just start over.
No way.
Why? Because I'll teach you all kinds of things again.
So I'm telling you, that's what I hate. I mean, you're in sales, aren't you? Why are you interfering with my work when I'm in the planning department? And in your case, it's not even an advice. You tell me to make the proposal that you come up with. I really don't like that. It really just bothers me. Anyway, I will never get back with you again.
I see. Then give me back the money I've been providing for you. It's like you should be indebted to me.
What the hell are you even talking about? You've never, ever provided for me. Before we got married, at our wedding, and during our marriage, we split everything. You know that I have no concept of making men only pay for me.
No.
It's not no. If you insist, why don't you bring all the receipts with you? I hardly depended on you. You better get out of that house in a week, or I'll hire a lawyer and sue you. I slammed the front door behind me. After that, my ex-husband, who had no money, moved out of the house he was used to living in, perhaps wanting to avoid causing any problems. And before I knew it, he had left the company as well. According to my in-laws, they don't even know where Devon is. Well, I predict that since the affair between my ex-husband and Evelyn was known throughout the company, he could not continue to stay at the company. I have become the center of attention too, but I have done nothing wrong. As I pushed forward with my work confidently, that incident was no longer a topic of conversation. Then one day, 3 years later, I saw someone on the street. Oh, it's been a long time, Evelyn. Oh. It had been 3 years, but she seemed to remember me too. You broke up with that person, didn't you? So? Are you still single? It's none of your business. That's true. Handing out flyers in this cold weather is a tough job. Good job for doing it, Evelyn. Oh, wow. This is just funny. You're still wearing the ring? Ha! You still have lingering affection towards him? Was probably the best sarcasm Evelyn could say to me right now. Oh, yeah, this ring is the wedding ring I have with my current husband right now. Huh? We were classmates in college, and my current husband is a lawyer. Evelyn's face contorts. Hey, Evelyn, did you know this? That men love smart women. And for men, young women like you are there just so that they could play with fire. Well then, bye! I smiled at Evelyn as she stood there and I started walking again. That was pretty mean, wasn't it? But I felt like I could take a revenge on everything that was done to me at that time, and I felt totally refreshed and started to move on forward. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.
My husband has an affair, so we get a divorce. He expects a lot for the division of property, but I only hand him 30 cents.
So, you're talking about division of property, right?
Yes, that's it. We did divorce, so the property's going to be divided in half, right?
Okay, I'll go get it ready. My ex-husband, Sebastian, and his lover, Lana, grinned as I said this. But I came back with my own purse. Seeing that I was not carrying a thick envelope, my ex-husband and his lover looked at me suspiciously. I opened my wallet, not caring about their reactions. Okay, that's 30 cents each for the division of property. My name is Amelia. I am 32 years old, and I work for a company. How my husband Sebastian and I met is pretty unique. I had a boyfriend that I dated until 3 years ago after I graduated from college. We were together for about 7 years. I loved him as my boyfriend, and of course, I was thinking of marrying him. So, I was waiting for him to propose to me. However, he never proposed to me for a long time, and when I talked about marriage, he kept on brushing it off. So, one day, I built up my courage and decided to ask him. If you're not gonna marry me, then let's just break up. I'm in my 30s now, and I don't want to be with someone who won't seriously consider a marriage with me. I thought saying this would finally make him decide in getting married to me. But he said,
Okay, then let's break up.
My mind went blank when he said that. He apparently had no intention of getting married and was being with me because he didn't want me alone for the time being. What was the point of us even going out then? Was it just that I was the one who was only in love with him? You've got to be kidding me. You're the worst. You stupid idiot. I said that as I ran out of his room. Of course, he didn't chase after me. I was filled with helplessness and wanted to get back home as soon as possible. So I quickly called for a cab. As I was riding the cab, I almost burst into tears on the way home. I looked down so that the driver would not recognize me, but I could not seem to suppress my feelings. Then, the driver suddenly stopped at a gas station parking lot. As I wondered what was going on, the driver looked in the rearview mirror and said this.
Excuse me, can I go to the restroom for a minute? I'll stop the meter here.
Oh, okay. Yes, please go ahead. As I said this, the driver went into the little shop at the gas station. As I waited for the driver, I remembered the talk with my ex-boyfriend earlier again, and I couldn't stop crying. I cried aloud in the taxi for the next 5 minutes. I guess I was relaxed because I was in the car alone and the driver was not there. Then the driver came back just as I finished crying.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Please have this as an apology.
The driver then handed me a bag. In the bag was a coffee and a handkerchief. Both of them seemed to have been bought at that shop in the gas station. I was so touched by the driver's kindness, and I was surprised that he even took the trouble to leave me alone so that I could just have my time to cry, and even bought them to calm me down after I had cried. The driver's kindness made me cry again. I had the opportunity to use the handkerchief very quickly, and I took it out of the bag and wiped my tears.
Please don't worry. You can cry. I'm going to head to the destination anyway, okay?
With that, the driver deliberately turned on the radio and turned up the volume. Thanks to the driver, I was able to calm down a lot by the time I arrived home. About 2 weeks later, I picked up a cab since I had to go somewhere, and it was that same driver again. I thought it was fate, and after thanking him for that time, I boldly asked him to exchange contact information with me. We then began to date and began to go out. When I first met him, I only vaguely remembered his face because it was at night and I was emotionally unstable. But when I met him in a cab during the day the second time, I realized that he looked about the same age as me. And I found out that he was 1 year younger than me. So we had a lot of things we could talk about, and we had a lot of fun together. We continued to steadily go out, and after about 2 years of dating, he proposed to me, and we got married. We have now been married for almost a year. It seems like it would work out all the time because of the special way we met, but the reality was different. The newlywed life with Sebastian was fun and good at first. However, I gradually began to see the parts of my husband that I didn't like. First of all, my husband was a person who did not do any house chores at all. So I had to cook dinner after work and do the laundry before I left for work. The other problem I had with my husband was that he tended to spend a lot of money. If he is not careful, he will buy expensive things and even use the money out of our shared account. My husband loves cars, which is why he became a cab driver. So he remodels his cars a lot, and it seems that he spends a lot of money to buy parts and other things for them. My husband would always excitedly say,
"See, it's different from before, isn't it?"
but I don't really care since I'm not that interested. I really wish that he didn't spend the money from our shared account without my permission. Then one day, when I opened my bank book, I found that several $1,000s had been withdrawn from the shared account. As you can imagine, I was losing my patience. I told my husband I needed to talk to him when he came home from work and told him about this. I've had enough. The money in this account is for us as a couple. It is not money that you can spend so freely. If you spend it on your hobbies like that, we won't be able to save anything. How much money do you put into the shared account every month? You only put about $500 a month. I'm the main contributor to the shared account, you know that? And as for living expenses, I pay the majority of it. So if you want to spend more money for your car, use it from your salary. When I said this, my husband got angry.
"You know I can't afford much with my low salary, don't you? We are a married couple, so it belongs to each other, right?"
What an unreasonable thing to say. I had no idea he was the kind of person to say such things. I was shocked to find out that my husband, whom I thought was so kind, had this side of him. Maybe this man is what you'd call good-for-nothing man. If he is, could he be having an affair or something? I even began to think about such things. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious I became of everything my husband did. I got more conscious and it became difficult for me to focus on my work. I thought this was a bad idea, so I decided to hire a professional to investigate. A few weeks later, I received the results of the investigation. It seemed that my intuition was right, that my husband was having an affair. I was so shocked that I almost lost my mind. But I managed to calm down and tried to have a proper discussion with my husband. I decided to forgive him if it was just a one-night stand. I was quite busy with my work, so my husband might have been feeling lonely. If that was the case, we should have a proper discussion as a couple. I was still thinking about that at the time. However, when I started talking to my husband, I realized that I had been very naive. I confronted my husband with the photographs that was the proof of the affair and asked him what was going on. "Why did you have an affair behind my back?" My husband was surprised, but after admitting the fact of the affair, he began to talk.
"She and I are bound by the thread of fate, you know."
Huh?
"I'm really sorry, but now that I've met her, I can't be with you."
Wait a minute. Wasn't it just a one-night stand or something like that?
"I'm really sure about this. The one I like, no, the one I love is her."
At this moment, something just collapsed inside me. I knew that only good-for-nothing scumbags would come to me. I was a fool for having high hopes on this man. My husband continued with his story, and finally asked me for a divorce. I felt ridiculous, and immediately agreed to the divorce. Then I quickly left the house and went back to my parents' house. My parents felt bad for me and comforted me. They told me I could stay at home until my mind and body were at peace. So I was taken care of at home to rest my body and mind. Not having to do any house chores and living with a family that was kind to me seemed to be a pretty good environment for me. And little by little, my wounds began to heal. I found myself smiling naturally more often when eating with my parents, and I felt that I was spending less and less time thinking about my ex-husband. I was starting to be able to concentrate on my work, and at this rate, I thought I would be able to completely forget about Sebastian. But just as I was thinking that, my ex-husband appeared in front of me again. It was a Saturday. I was in my room when I heard something noisy by the front door.
What are you doing here now, you jerk?
Surprised by my father's angry voice, I rushed out of the room. Then I found my ex-husband there. Sebastian.
Hey, Amelia.
What are you doing here? I asked as I glared at him.
What do you mean? I came here to talk to you.
Talk to me about what?
About division of property. Come to think of it, we haven't talked about it, you know?
Okay, well, let's just get this over with. When I said that, my ex-husband's face lit up.
Hey, we got permission. Hurry up and come in.
Huh? Who the heck did he invite over to my parents' place? The front door opened, and I was startled to see that person enter. To my surprise, it was my ex-husband's lover, Lana. How could he bring his own lover to his ex-wife's parents' house? What kind of nerve does he have? I almost fell over with dizziness, and I had thought I could just forget about the scumbag. But I had no choice but to let them in the house and put them in the living room, because it looked like it would be a huge hassle if something happened here. So, you're talking about division property, right?
Yes, that's it. We did divorce, so the property's going to be divided in half, right?
Okay, I'll go get it ready. My ex-husband Sebastian and his lover Lana grinned as I said this. My parents are looking on, arms folded as if they are not convinced at the situation. They probably don't want to see me divide the property and give Sebastian the money. But I came back with my own purse. Seeing that I was not carrying a thick envelope, my ex-husband and his lover looked at me suspiciously. I opened my wallet, not caring about their reactions. Okay, that's 30 cents each for the division of property.
Huh?
My ex-husband looked confused.
Hey, you're kidding, aren't you? I'm asking you about property division, you know? So give me my portion of the money.
I told my ex-husband, who didn't understand the situation. Unfortunately, the money left in our joint account was 60 cents. So the property division was 30 cents each. I opened the bank book of the joint account and showed it to him. My ex-husband and his lover looked into it and were absolutely mortified.
Huh? Is that all I get?
What the heck is the meaning of this? You told me that you'll get more money. Sebastian's lover questions him. Then my ex-husband made a surprising statement.
Hey, Amelia, you're hiding some money, aren't you? I know that you have $200,000. Because I saw it on your bank book, you know? Where are the savings for that? If it's half, I should at least get $100,000, right?
Now hold on a minute. Did you look at my bank book without my permission?
Well, we were married, so it's fine.
This man was snooping around my bank account without permission, and he was trying to take it without telling me. But this man is mistaken about one thing. You don't know anything, do you? All my savings I made was all before I married you. That's why it can't be a joint property.
What? You're kidding, right?
You really know nothing, huh? Wow, you really are ignorant. You don't get anything but that 30 cents. The rest of the money I put into our shared account was used so that you could remodel your car. Huh? Remodel the car? Sebastian, what does she mean by that?
Well...
You didn't even remodel your car though, did you? I was surprised by Lana's statement. What the hell do you mean by that? When I questioned them, my ex-husband started telling me the truth.
Well, I used the money in the shared account to take Lana on vacations and to fancy restaurants.
I was surprised to find out that my ex-husband was not using the money for his hobbies, but was using my money to pay for his lover. And now, his lover also found out that Sebastian was paying off for her by using my money. Wait a minute, are you saying that it wasn't your money but this woman's? My ex-husband couldn't take back what he said and was unable to get away with it. You're just the worst. You won't get to remarry me now. Saying that, Lana got up and left.
Hey, wait a minute.
My husband was about to leave too, so I stopped him. Wait a minute. If you were using the money to pay off for your lover, then that changes the whole thing. I'll add that money to the alimony, so make sure you pay me back.
What? Oh no. Cut me some slack.
No way. You did it all on your own so you could just show off, didn't you? So I'll make sure you pay what you owe. My ex-husband was pale. I then filed a $60,000 for alimony against my ex-husband through my lawyer. I also asked for $30,000 for his lover, Lana. My ex-husband was in a lot of debt, even though his salary was low, and he had also been dumped by his partner. Now, most of his salary is gone to pay the bills, and he is leading a very poor life. I, on the other hand, was able to work hard and get a promotion. Since I lived at home for a while after that, I was able to save a lot of money. Currently, I have also started investing, and I'm gradually increasing my assets. Since my love life is good for a while, I think I will increase my savings a lot and set my goal in saving some money so I could retire earlier. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.
After giving birth, husband changed locks, filed for divorce, and evicted us 3 days later. He begs for help.
After giving birth, I returned home from the hospital to find that my key wouldn't work. Oh, you got discharged today? I figured you weren't coming back, so I changed the locks. You can't get in anymore. You and I are already strangers. I've already filed for divorce. If you had apologized right away, it wouldn't have come to this. Serves you right. My husband said those words and then hung up the phone. I held my newborn baby and gripped the key that was now useless because he had changed the locks without my knowledge. I could feel anger rising in my head at how my husband had treated me until this point. He probably thinks I'll come crawling back saying, "I'm sorry, please let me in." Maybe I would have done that in the past, but he doesn't deserve to be a father or even a husband. I've decided that I'm going to make him suffer, no matter what. So I decided to take action right away. I, Natasha, am currently a full-time housewife, 3 months pregnant. I was asked to quit my job when I got pregnant so that I could focus on being a homemaker. Although I was happy about being pregnant, I was honestly confused because I never thought I'd get pregnant just 3 months after getting married, and I still wanted to enjoy living with my husband alone as newlyweds. I'm an only child, so I've always wanted siblings. It's better to have more than one child. My husband had been saying that before we got married, and he was so happy about my pregnancy that he looked forward to the baby's arrival every day. Seeing my husband's excitement, I felt happy that I had been blessed with this child too, and we thought about names for our child even before finding out the gender. However, there were many difficult things amidst our happiness. Shortly after the pregnancy was discovered, my morning sickness became so severe that it was difficult to even sit up or do anything, whether lying down or standing up. The house gradually became messy, and I couldn't even manage simple household chores. Although my husband didn't say anything, he seemed clearly dissatisfied. I think his dissatisfaction began when I started sleeping before he came home from work because I couldn't wait for him because of the severe morning sickness. I wanted to smile for my tired husband and listen to him, but I just didn't have the energy to do so due to the intense discomfort. Hey, will you clean the room already? There's just so much dust everywhere. I want to eat food prepared at home instead of ordering delivery all the time. We're newlyweds, but is this how it's going to be? I was most irritated when my husband said these words to me on his day off. Well, then why don't you do it yourself? I swallowed these words that were on the tip of my tongue and said with a smile, You know, I've been telling you this from the beginning, but my morning sickness still hasn't gone away and it's really tough. So I'd be really happy if you could do what you can do to help. You're going to be a dad soon, so I hope you can understand a little and cooperate. I wanted to praise myself for being able to basically say, Do it yourself, you lazy ass, with a smile, reminding myself that if I said unpleasant words, the baby could hear them. No, pregnancy and childbirth are mother's job. There's nothing I can do. You should know that. You have to deal with morning sickness and take care of me and the house until the baby is born, or we won't be able to manage. Fathers can spoil the child as much as they want once they're born, so it's fine. It happened to be noon, so he said this and went out for lunch. Lately, there have been many days when he would go out to eat and not come back until late. He didn't even do anything thoughtful, like buying something back for me. I don't hate my husband or anything, and I married him because I love him. But he doesn't do anything for himself, and when no one listens to his stories or things don't go according to his plans, he sulks. How immature is that? For example, before we got married, there were many times when I had to cancel our dates due to my work schedule. He would complain in dissatisfaction every time, and I would try my best to make him happy by treating him to a delicious meal or comforting him. When he came to my house to visit, he would complain that the cleaning wasn't thorough or that the food wasn't good enough, but I could still laugh it off back then. He would lazily stay over at my house for more than a week and not help with any housework. At that time, I guess my maternity instinct was stimulated, or I found him cute or something like that, and that's why I married him. But as we started living together, I began to see his negative side little by little. However, I kept those feelings bottled up and continued living like that, hoping that he would change a little once the baby was born. But I was wrong. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep while thinking about such things, and it was already dark outside with the house starting to darken. My husband, who had gone out for lunch, had not yet returned home. I felt relieved that he wasn't there, but I also felt empty. As I looked at the messy room, the word divorce suddenly overlapped in my mind. But when I thought about the child that was about to be born, I wondered if that was wrong. However, I kept overthinking things in my head and felt more and more depressed, unable to get up. Days passed as I thought about such things and felt uneasy. While eating with my big belly, I suddenly felt water on my legs. Could it be my water breaking? I panicked and rushed into the house to check when I started to feel some pain in my belly. Since there were still a few days until the due date, I was scared and called my husband, who was at work. However, my husband didn't show any concern and instead scolded me for not sticking to the schedule and said he couldn't leave work suddenly. My husband's workplace was located in the middle between our house and the hospital, and he had promised to tell his boss and leave work when I went into labor. But now this was the reality. I decided not to be sad or resent my husband for now and focused on giving birth safely. I immediately called for an ambulance and was taken to the hospital. Even after arriving, I was struggling with the pain of labor. When the waves of pain subsided and I was a bit more conscious, I called my mother and mother-in-law and they rushed over. I frequently checked my phone, but there was still no message from my husband. I had no more energy to worry about him, and soon my cervix finally opened and after a long fight, I gave birth to my cute child. After resting on the delivery table for a while, I was taken to a private room. My parents and in-laws praised me, saying, "You did well," and my mother-in-law held my hand tightly with tears in her eyes. But then she suddenly looked as if she remembered something and said, "Wait, Dan hasn't come yet, has he?" Everyone present suddenly realized the same thing, and all at once they began to ask, "Where is he? And what is he doing?" I myself had forgotten about my husband's existence and took out my phone to call him. "Hello? Where are you now? The baby was born safely. I want you to come now. Everyone is waiting." "Good job with the baby. But you're wrong. First, apologize to me. Say sorry for leaving me out of the loop, for giving birth earlier than planned, for messing up the schedule. It's your fault that I couldn't be there. I feel sorry for the baby because she was forced to come out early. Anyway, I still have some work to do, so I can't come. Bye." He said that and hung up. At that moment, I covered my face and cried loudly. My confused parents and in-laws asked about the situation, and I couldn't hold back, so I told them about how he had been acting lately. Everyone was angry after hearing it, and my in-laws apologized to me and my parents, but my feelings towards my husband had already cooled down completely. I'm thinking of divorcing him. I know the baby is just born, but I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. That's not something you should apologize for, Natasha. Yes, it's better to follow your heart, said my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law and my parents agreed. While relieved, I felt sorry for my baby, and my tears overflowed once again. I cried all night after everyone left. After I calmed down, I struggled with breastfeeding and taking care of my baby in the same room. One day, my mother-in-law came to visit me. After cooing at her grandchild and sitting next to me, she began to talk about my husband. I had never been told about it in detail, but when my husband was a child, my in-laws were both working, and he was what is called a latchkey kid. They taught him how to fold laundry and use the microwave so that he could do some things alone, and he was enthusiastic about being able to do things alone. However, once he was alone at home, he couldn't bear the loneliness and cried every day, often causing trouble for my in-laws. They had no choice but to apologize and ask relatives and friends to take care of him. Whoever finished work first went to pick him up. He occasionally had dinner with whoever was taking care of him, and my in-laws gave them a little bit of money. Whenever they told him to heat up his own food, he cried and screamed that he didn't want to and couldn't even touch it. So they had to leave him with someone else. When they began to feel guilty about leaving him with someone else's family, my in-laws decided to send him to cram school. They thought that if he finished cram school and came back, there would be less time for him to be alone at home. However, he cried even harder at the thought of coming home alone. The place where they went to pick him up had just changed from someone else's house to a cram school. He still didn't prepare any meals for himself. He used the pocket money given to him to satisfy his hunger before and after the cram school. And when his parents came to pick him up, they would go home together and he would have them prepare the meals. He has been living a selfish life without doing any housework for his working parents until now. Dan told us, "I hate being alone because I can't do anything on my own." So he only chose university and workplace where he could commute to from his home. That's why he can't do anything on his own. When he's at home, I end up taking care of him. I thought he would change when he got married and became a father, but he didn't change at all. I'm really sorry for causing you trouble, Natasha. I realized that our way of raising him was wrong. My mother-in-law said this with a sad expression. I strangely agreed that he wouldn't change just because he got married, since he had been like that since he was a child. I realized that I hadn't talked to my in-laws about how things were at home with Dan, and I unintentionally ended up telling my mother-in-law about it. That night, I was trying to get some sleep before the next nursing session, and then I received a call from my husband. "Did you say something to my parents? Is this your way of getting back to me for not visiting you? Don't be a tattletale, you brat." And he just hung up the phone. Who's the brat here? That jerk? I grumbled in my heart. I then calmed my mind as I looked at my sleeping baby next to me and fell asleep. Finally, it was time to be discharged, but my husband never came to see our baby even once. I feel relieved now, I thought with a strangely refreshed feeling as I returned home by taxi. When I arrived home, the taxi driver carried my luggage and came with me. While chatting, I took out my keys and tried to insert them into the lock. But it felt like the cylinder had been changed and the key didn't go in. Only my husband could have done something like this. Holding back my anger, I called my husband, and this is what he said to me. "Oh, you got discharged today? But this isn't your home anymore. This is my house. And you and I are already strangers. I've already filed for divorce. If you had apologized right away, it wouldn't have come to this. Don't you ever contact me again. Serves you right." He just said what he wanted to say as usual and hung up the phone. Ah, that asshole, I muttered, realizing that I couldn't just take my infant outside for long. I immediately contacted my mom and explained the situation. After explaining everything and hanging up the phone, the taxi driver who had been watching everything nearby came running and returned my luggage to the car, opening the door for me. He seemed unusually enthusiastic, and I couldn't help but smile. Maybe it's like that saying, Schadenfreude, or joy in the misfortune of others. As soon as I arrived at my parents' house, I left my child with my mom and went to consult with a lawyer. The lawyer who assisted me listened to my story and then confirmed if I really wanted a divorce. Perhaps it was because I had let my emotions run wild and had been rambling on about everything that had happened up until today. The divorce papers had been submitted without my consent, so we had to go through a divorce invalidation mediation, and if we couldn't come to an agreement, we would have to go to court. But I had already made up my mind about the divorce, so I had no objections to the divorce itself. It was not just about me being insulted, but also about my husband not coming to see the baby and ultimately locking us out of the house. It was not something a person would do to others. Even I was about to lose my mind with anger. I told my lawyer that I wanted to claim compensation for the mental distress during pregnancy, child support, and property division as a sanction. I didn't think my husband would agree to mediation, but even if we went to mediation, I didn't think we would be able to reach an agreement. The lawyer mentioned that it was not possible to immediately file a lawsuit without going through mediation as a preliminary step, and I felt a little discouraged. But it was no longer just my own problem. I had a baby to protect. Rather than groveling to my husband and struggling to live as if nothing had happened, it would be better for the sake of my future and my baby to struggle. Besides, my husband submitting fake divorce papers was a completely separate issue from my intention to get a divorce. He deserved to suffer. I will file a complaint against my husband, I told my lawyer. Soon after that, my husband was arrested by the police. It turned out that he had been cheating on me with another woman in a house other than ours. I heard this from others, but apparently my husband had changed the locks right after I was hospitalized and was probably living there, but he couldn't handle the pile of dirty dishes and the stench in the house as he couldn't do any housework. So he decided to move in with his mistress. He was living there carefree, but then the police came to visit and he was arrested. When I told my in-laws that I had gone to consult with a lawyer, they tried to contact my husband and visited my house, but couldn't get through to him, and he hadn't returned to his parents' house either. They wondered where he could be, but they never thought he would be cheating. It turned out it had been going on for a few months. Well, there were signs. He would go out during the day and not come back until late at night, claiming he was working overtime. But at the time, I was suffering from morning sickness and dealing with my selfish husband, and I honestly thought that having some time alone was better. Maybe I was pretending not to notice he was having an affair. My husband kept blaming me, saying things like, "I'm not at fault, it's Natasha's fault for leaving me alone," to the police and lawyers. He was like a child, crying and wailing, unable to reflect on his own actions. And he realized during the lawsuit that the more he insisted on his innocence, the worse the situation became. He then apologized to me for the first time since we met, saying, "I was wrong about everything. Let's start over. I want to see my baby." Since we never met in person, I heard everything through my lawyer. When my husband told me, "Clean up for once," it was the most irritated I had ever been in my life. But this apology and selfish demand from him topped that and became the most irritating moment in my life. I asked my lawyer to convey this to him, and he said he would tell him exactly as I said. After that, things finally came to an end. I was able to get a fair share of the property and even received more compensation for emotional distress than I had expected, considering my husband's infidelity. And by the way, the house was in my husband's name, so I simply gave it to him without any hesitation. I didn't want a messy, foul-smelling house anyway. As for child support, it was agreed that he would pay it monthly, but I heard secretly from my mother-in-law that he quit his job and started working part-time after this incident became known at his company. It seems he tried to go back to his parents' home, but my father-in-law scolded him and told him he would never step foot in their home again. So he sold the house we used to live in and is living somewhere else now. I don't really expect much in terms of child support considering his situation. However, my in-laws offered to help for the sake of their grandchild and said they would pay separately from my husband. I couldn't accept money from my in-laws, but I bowed my head in gratitude for their kind gesture. Now I'm back at my parents' house, and with their help, I'm planning to take some time to rest my mind and body. Someday, I'll move out with my child and start working to live a modest but happy life. I'll do my best.
My husband, who was kind to me, changed drastically once we moved in with his mother and they kicked me out.
Get out! You are worthless. You don't have to tell me. I'm leaving. Get out now. I know. I grabbed my wallet and phone. But my mother-in-law, Paula, swatted them away with force. She took $750 out of my hand. What's in this house is ours. What? I'm not gonna let you walk away with what's in this house. You're gonna walk out of here with nothing but your clothes on. She's the meanest person I've ever met. I ran out of the house. My name is Ivy. I've been married to my husband David for 2 years. We met at work and dated for a year before we got married. I was so happy when David, who was very popular among the female employees, asked me to be his girlfriend. He's very funny and always smiling. I believe that this happiness would last forever. David said to me,
Let's talk about everything with each other and walk down the road together.
I was so happy to hear that. As it turned out, he didn't really mean what he said. But that wasn't the case when we first met. His true nature hasn't changed at all, though. I just couldn't see it. It was only recently that David's true nature was revealed. 6 months ago, my father-in-law passed away. My happy marriage slowly fell apart.
I need to talk to you.
That day, David approached me with a mysterious look on his face. This was unusual for my normally cheerful husband. I listened to him and wondered what was going on.
I'm thinking of moving in with my mother.
David is a very kind man. He was worried about Paula being left alone. I was prepared for him to say something like this sooner or later, but I felt something strange when he said this.
I'm thinking of moving in with my mother.
What about my opinion? The way he said it sounded like he had already made up his mind. Am I just being paranoid? I wish I had someone I could talk to at a time like this. My parents have already passed away, so even if I want to talk to them about it, I can't. I thought about talking to my friend about it, but my friend is single. None of my friends are married. I thought about talking to someone at work, but David and I work at the same company. I didn't feel comfortable discussing our situation with someone at work. I agonized over the matter alone, but David had always shown me his concern for me. I decided to stop being so nervous about what he said. About moving in together with Paula? I was at a loss for words that day and couldn't respond. Later that day, I told David whether or not I wanted to live with her.
What?
I'm worried about Paula. I'm in favor of moving in with her too.
Yeah.
It's not what I expected. He sounds so uninterested. I was expecting a thank you or a I'm glad or something like that. I wonder if I was arrogant to expect such words. It's not nice to ask for something in return, but I wanted him to at least say thank you. We talk about everything, right?
Yes, we do.
So, when do you want to move in?
Oh, the Friday after next.
What? I don't know why, but I felt pretty frustrated. We said we'd discuss everything, and he informed me of his decision. I want to be there for Paula, who lost her husband, but it still makes me angry. Why is it already decided?
What?
The day when we are supposed to move out. I didn't hear anything about it. You didn't tell me anything about it. I don't think I want to move in with her anymore. David was obviously upset.
I'm sorry. My dad is gone and I don't know what to do. I just wanted to help my mom. I had to think about you first. I'm really sorry.
It's not that you have to think about me first. We should be able to make decisions together.
You're right.
I fully understand the grief of losing a parent. I understand why David panicked. Besides, we have a bond that we have built up over the years. If he would reflect on this and be careful in the future, I'll forgive him. So, not the Friday after next. Please, listen to my request.
Yeah, I will.
The week after next, I have a party at work, so I can't.
Okay. When do you think you can make it?
Well, Saturday would work for me.
Saturday?
Oh, is Paula busy on Saturday?
It's fine. Let's do it on a Saturday then.
And 2 weeks later, on Saturday, the day came. On that day, I witnessed David's disappointing side. I arrived at Paula's house before the movers came so that I could greet her, but she was nowhere to be found. When I checked with David, he said she was out. It's not like I'm all in favor of moving in together. I'm sure there will be areas where I will feel uncomfortable living with my mother-in-law. Even so, I decided to live with her to support her and David. And yet, she isn't even here. Is this my ego? I honestly don't want her to do anything to make me feel insecure about the future. But she isn't here, and that's not going to change no matter what I think. While I was in agony unpacking the boxes that had arrived, Paula came home. Hi, Paula. I'm looking forward to living with you. I greeted her with a smile, and she glanced at me and immediately looked at David. Why did we have to do this on Saturday? Why did we have to choose a day that costs so much?
Because of our schedule.
I told you to pick Friday.
Yeah.
She went straight into her room. What was that? It was the first time I ever saw her and David like that. David and I have been married for more than 2 years. Of course, I have been visiting my parents-in-law during that time. Whenever I visited them, Paula always greeted me with a smile. I wonder if a person's personality changes so much when they lose someone they love. Above all, what is with David's attitude? Can he tell his own opinion to his own mother? What was that?
What?
I've never seen her like that before.
Really? She used to be like that.
No way. She's a very kind person, isn't she?
Yeah, but only in front of my dad.
What? Why didn't you tell me that?
Because you never asked me.
That's not the point. He should have told me beforehand if he knew his mother had that kind of side. If I knew she was like that, I would have never agreed to live with her. What are you going to do now? We've already moved out of the house and all our stuff is here.
You will get used to it. I'm fine.
I felt my anger boiling inside of me. You might be fine, but not me.
Don't worry. Mom's not a bad person. The only reason she wanted to do this on Friday was because she was worried about our finances. She was just being a little harsh, that's all.
No, it didn't seem that way to me. I don't think I can do this.
Do what?
Living together. I feel pathetic at his incompetence. Hey, are you just going to obey your mom?
What? Why?
Because you didn't express your opinion at all.
It's not like that all the time. She's not at her best because Dad passed away. She's probably just feeling lonely and sensitive.
You really think so?
Yeah, I think so.
You were talking about how she was always acting like a nice person in front of your dad.
I didn't say she was acting.
It doesn't matter how you say it. I'm pissed off.
I'll take care of everything, so please, bear with me a little bit. Please.
My thoughts are all over the place. There's really nothing wrong with him in the last 2 years, dating period included. In fact, he's a very kind, funny, and caring person. But the person I see in front of me now looks unworthy and pathetic. I don't know if I should give an answer right now. I wonder if all the days we spent together were in vain. I've been struggling with conflict after conflict, and I feel exhausted. I accepted David's words because my thought process was not working properly. But I know this was a mistake. I should have stuck with myself, even if I was exhausted and my brain stopped functioning. I always lived my life with positive attitude, and it has backfired on me. I've learned that there are some things in this world that can't be managed. David was there for me at first. He supported me while I had to deal with Paula complaining about everything I did. But after 3 months, he blurted out,
I'm tired.
After that, he started supporting his mother. In other words, I had no one to turn to. David doesn't say or do anything, even if Paula says harsh things to me. He would hurry off to his room. I have to be very careful about our neighbors here. There are 2 factions in the neighborhood, one group of wives led by Paula and another group. They don't get along very well. I see them when I take out the garbage or come home from work and when I say hello to them. But they just stare at me from the bottom to the top and ignore me. I guess Paula says bad things about me. When I pass them in the neighborhood, no one greets me. Why do I have to experience such loneliness? Is there any point in living together? And do I really need to be married to David? I don't need to ask myself these questions. The answer is already there. At dinner that night, I broached the subject. I would like to talk to you about our future. Paula's eyes widened. Oh yes, finally. So when are you quitting your job? What? I'm not quitting my job. Then I don't have to listen to you. What is going on, David? You should be able to make your wife obey us.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You were supposed to quit your job and move in with me.
What?
I can't live my retirement life because you didn't keep your promise. She doesn't do anything anyways. I didn't know she expected me to quit my job. What is going on? I looked at David, but he just stood there looking uncomfortable. I said, "What is going on?"
Mom's getting old, so if you quit your job, you can stay home and Mom can relax.
She complains about the food I make, the rooms I clean. All she does is complain. I'm not complaining. I'm trying to teach you something.
Look, all I need is for you to quit your job and stay home. You can take care of my mom.
Then you quit your job and take care of her. She's your mother. I was just trying to tell you that I'm divorcing you.
What?
And here's where Paula claps her hands happily. That's great. Now you can marry Rosie. Who is Rosie?
Mom.
Penalty, isn't it? I'll pay it for you. Here you go. Paula shoved a wad of cash to me. How much? $750. You can gladly accept it. Wow, that's a lot of money from someone who is so stingy. I'll take that as payment for all the care I've given you. So am I correct in assuming that you've been cheating on me?
I'm not going to make excuses. Rosie is my mother's favorite. She's even offered to stay with us if we get married. Rosie lives close, and if she and I get married, I'll be free.
I feel like crying. Even though he was not supporting me anymore, and I decided to get a divorce, I never thought he would betray me like this. I know if he was just a weak-minded person, but I somehow believed he would never betray me. But while I was going through the pain, he only wanted to save himself. I won't cry. I'm not going to shed a tear. All right, then let's proceed with the divorce. You have to fulfill your final responsibility.
What?
I'm going to charge you and Rosie alimony. Wait a minute. I just gave you some money. That's for 3 months' care. You have a job, so I'm going to charge you based on your income.
But
I don't care if we have to go to court.
if we do that, you'll get less money.
I don't care, as long as it's settled properly. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not going to let you do that. It's none of your business. My spouse is David. You're such an arrogant person. You're a woman and you didn't even quit your job when you moved in. How rude is that? Whatever. Get out of here. You're useless. I am leaving. Get out now. I know. I grabbed my wallet and phone. But Paula swatted them away and took $750 out of my hand. What's in this house is ours. What? I'm not gonna let you walk away with what's in this house. You're gonna walk out of here with nothing but your clothes on. She is the meanest person I've ever met. I ran out of the house, and it started raining. I heard a bang, and I turned around. Paula was looking at me through the window, clapping her hands and laughing. This is terrible. I have no money, no phone, no neighbors to call for help. Thank goodness it rained. It hides my tears. Only the sky was on my side. Soaking wet and with nowhere to go, I sat down at a nearby bus stop. The time must be around 9 p.m. There are no buses at this time of night. Well, I can't afford to take the bus even if it came. All I can do is sigh deeply and look up at the sky. At a time like this, if only my mother were here. I miss my parents so much. If I go from here, I can get there in about 3 hours. Hey, you're soaking wet. The person who handed out an umbrella to me. It was Sophia, the boss of the group that was not getting along with Paula's group. The bus isn't coming. Where were you trying to go? I was going to see my parents. Where are they? The cemetery. What? I don't have a home to go back to. She took me by the arm and led me to her house, and she gave me a towel and a change of clothes. These are my daughters, so put them on. Don't worry, it's not grandmother's clothes. Thank you. The way Sophia talked was kind of rough, but she was a very nice woman. She's a prick, isn't she? Yes, she is. I'm sorry you had to marry into that family. As it turns out, Paula was a famous mean old lady in the neighborhood. She would scout out the newcomers in the neighborhood and talk to them like she was superior. When Sophia defended the newcomer, Paula declared her an enemy. What are you going to do now? I'm getting a divorce. And you have no regrets? Of course not. That's good, because her son is at her beck and call. He's always followed her around, watching her do mean things. There's no way he can protect you. Besides, he's probably cheating on you with that woman. Everyone knows about it? Yeah, everyone in the neighborhood knows. I really should have told you sooner. If you're getting a divorce, I'll help you. The world is not all enemies. An ally appeared from an unexpected place. After that, with Sophia's help, I was able to get proof of David's affair. I was able to get a smooth divorce. I asked for alimony from both parties and got a fair amount. I've kept in touch with Sophia ever since. She told me that David and Rosie never got married. Rosie was just looking for a relationship with someone who had money. But when it came to marriage, it was a different story. I heard she rented an apartment near where she worked and moved out. David left the company. It wasn't his decision, of course. Paula told him that I was a plague and forced him to quit the company. He obeyed her. She wanted to keep David near her, so David works from home and they live sparsely. She's lost her place in the neighborhood. According to Sophia, there were a lot of people who saw me walking around the neighborhood that day. After that, when I disappeared, the whole neighborhood started to gossip that Paula was bullying me. As a result, she don't get out of the house anymore. She lives with David quietly. One time, David was waiting for me in front of the office. He said only one word, "I'm sorry," and handed me a small box. When I opened the box, I found mementos and photos of my parents. Paula was furious with me at that time and threw away all my personal belongings. It seems David managed to keep this for me. I'm sure he's a kind man, but I couldn't stand by his way of life. It would be hard to break free from his mother's spell. I felt a little sad, but I don't regret my choice. I'm still recovering from my wounds, but I'm slowly making my way back. Breaking free from the curse of parents. It may be so hard to do. I'm glad you have someone on your side, Ivy. I wish you wonderful days ahead. I'll be rooting for you.